So good afternoon, everyone. Just a sound and video check. Neeraj, am I audible as well as visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Perf Perfect. Thank you.
Can you hear
So
me?
very warm good afternoon to everyone. Warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists as well as the audience. So today we'll be having agriculture roundtable on AgTech, and especially for this session, we have picked up something which is very critical for agriculture sector as a whole. That's digital technology. If you look at the numbers, it is very clear that agriculture is no longer just about soil, seed, and rain. Increasingly about data, device, sensors, to name a few. So globally, if you see agri-tech market, it is estimated to be around 13 billion US dollar in 2025, and is projected to grow at rate of between 12.5 to 14%, depending on the segment you pick up. The growth is driven by everything from remote sensing and AI-based advisory to robotics, drones, digital marketplace, genetic engineering enabled by AI, and also fintech. India is one of the most exciting frontier in this space. Recent estimate plays that India's agri-tech market would be close to 878 million US dollars, growing at well above 10 to 12% CAGR. If you look at the India Brand Equity Foundation, they estimate that the smart agriculture market, including mechanization, would touch close to 3.8 billion by 2033. And all of this is fueled by technology, which include precision technology, sensors, and analytics. Now let's understand the way from dirty roads to digital highway needs a lot of effort. And I believe the Indian agri-tech is ready for that adventure. So platform like Sagu Bagu in Telangana, they have already showcased that yield can increase by 21% within one season if we apply digital technology in a correct manner. Similarly, smallholder farmers, as per the World Economic Forum's 2025 paper, are reaping close to $800 extra revenue per acre when they are able to execute properly the digital technology. Now, if you see that in India already we are having close to 50 million farmers who are in some form of digital registry, whether it is the private sector or the government, but they have become part of digitization ecosystem. And moving forward, we see that over next 3 to 4 years, we will be having 50% of our farmers who would be having a digital footprint in the activities they are doing. Now we are already seeing that the drones aren't sci-fi anymore. They are on field, scanning the fields, and with IoT providing the ground truthing, they're able to create advisory which are delivered to the farmers using AI chatbots. Now, chatbots are as common as tractors and harvesters in many parts of the world, and we see same happening in India as well pretty soon. So still, it isn't all smooth, simple ride. We also have issues which we need to take care of. Some of the challenges which include because of India is having 130 million farmers and 86% of them holding less than a hectare. The digital adoption is riddled with bumps like digital literacy, data trust, and even sometimes plain old, my phone is out of network. Supply chain also from farm to market are being digitized with USD 20 billion in annual e-mandi trade, but still that's just a small fraction of overall agriculture economy of India. We are already seeing the traces of digital traceability coming in, but still the post-harvest losses are in high double digits. Similarly, we saw a huge amount of VC investment pouring in close to 1,600 Indian agri-tech startups, but now we are seeing the investment drying, and only those who have already got sufficient funded in previous series are getting refunded. The new investment in upcoming agri-tech startups is drying down a little bit, and we need to see a change there as well. But at the same time, the real test is about inclusion, trust, and balance when it comes to AgTech implementation in agriculture. As we zip through the agri-digital expressway, we need to understand that we need to ensure financial inclusion and digital skills are being percolated at the grassroots level. Similarly, the trust in technology of farmers need to increase. They don't understand algorithm, but they understand the value a technology brings on the table. So with that, I'll be talking to my awesome panel. We are having Sri Parmesh Shah from World Bank. We have Anand Chandra from Arya, Dushyant Tyagi from Farmgate, and Mr. Unni Nair and Mr. Morup, who is from DCM Shriram Sugar Division, and Mr. Bheemsha, who is from Mahindra. So let's delve into with our expert and understand all about how this ecosystem is evolving and their views on that.
Hi, Deepak. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. So I would start with Parmesh, you, right? You have seen that the world is evolving in agri-tech, but at the same time, we see challenges when it comes to the global south, the developing world, where we see the bottlenecks from digital connectivity to overall incomes of the farmer, as well as the availability of resources. In your view, what are the template and technologies which can be utilized by the small and marginal farmers which are predominantly doing the agriculture in developing world, sir? Your initial use, sir.
Hi, Deepak, and thanks a lot for inviting me today. I think 5 years back, when COVID came, World Bank had hardly 8 investments in digital and data in agriculture. Our portfolio was predominantly using standardized ways of information systems and MIS and all that. Today, we have 84 investments, $2 billion investment in just data and digital, which is reflective of the demand from the governments. And our investments are where governments asking us that we need to invest in the digital public infrastructure for agriculture. So I personally feel that unless you have a digital public infrastructure for agriculture, you cannot uh, achieve scale by having apps. Apps are just, pilots, they disappear, they come, they go. So I think we feel that you should make investments in ecosystems and platforms. So first is the data ecosystem, which I think rightly so the government went and registered a lot of digitally registered number of farms, and you said rightly that 50% of the Indian farmer is got a digital footprint right now there. But what you need to accompany that with is a kind of a roadmap which brings fragmented investments to sequenced investable kind of options and then bundled service. So just a point solution doesn't work for smallholders. If you just provide one advisory and farmer has no credit, has no market linkage, the farmer is not going to do anything with that. So to me, the bundled service availability to a smallholder is a very, very important thing. The second is that smallholder is not going to pay for these services from day one. So you need to create an ecosystem which allows the farmers to first use it using kind of public platforms. And so data, just give you the data that if you don't invest in data, the cost of investing in data for a small startup is almost 80% of the cost, and customer acquisition cost is almost like $25 per farmer, and no agtech will survive with that kind of a model. But if you invest in data and make it public through a governance architecture, then if that data is available, like the soil data, the farmer registries, all that is available to startups, then their costs come down by 70% and they go to scale faster. So we have found that in Kenya, and we have invested in a big data platform with weather data and farmer registries with 7 million farmers and lots of data being available to startups. We have 38 startups right now providing that to almost 2.8 million farmers right now
Wow.
in just 3 years, 4 years. So we know that you have to provide some initial investments. And like the India's case of Aadhaar, how did the digital payment system came in? Because you had now agriculture needs a similar investment like the backend protocol of digital public infrastructure in agriculture, which any private company or startup could start using and creating products and services from there. Right now, every startup and every company invests in their own model, and that's why the scale is never reached, basically. So we have to really invest in the first level digital public infrastructure, which allows everyone to then, build a second stack of products and services on top of it. Now, overall, we see now this happening in many countries. We are investing now in UP, Maharashtra, and Bihar, and many states where I think we are making substantive investments in digital public infrastructure. We have almost like 180 to 200 startups now coming in and working with on this platform there. So I think the real challenge would be how to use the digital public infrastructure to create good quality products and services. So I think I'm hopeful because I think the core investments are being made now. But I think the private sector is also innovating at a very high speed. As you described, the India is really very ahead of that. But I see that in Africa. I see that in Latin America. I think Brazil, Peru, Argentina are doing this on a very large scale now. We have Morocco also doing that. So I see almost 29 countries globally which are investing in ecosystem and platform as opposed to just investing in technology. So I think investing in technology is not the solution. Investing in ecosystems and platforms is the solution. I'll stop there.
No, I totally agree with you, sir, that actually, apps are just there, to give you happiness that we are having so many apps. And farmers actually, will not use app until it gives value to them. So, in fact, I recently wrote an article, actually, which I said that actually, as India, as a agri-tech ecosystem, we are having a lot of apps with very limited technology, ecosystem, and science behind it. And that is what I'm as you rightly pointed out, when you have a mindset of building ecosystem and cost of data. In fact, I was the initial part of the initial team which ideated in the concept note, the idea itself, which was done by World Economic Forum along with the government of India, which eventually came out as AgriStech. But I think still it is pretty slow. It's just like I always say that Birbal ki khichdi, right? 7 saal se abhi tak nahi paki hai, but it is time actually, with intervention or support to multilateral organizations like World Bank. I think states themselves, they've started doing that. As you rightly pointed, Maharashtra, in fact, they have come out with their own AI-based agriculture policy. And happy that actually I'm part of advising and mentoring them as well. So I think positive things are happening. And Africa, in fact, agri-fintech, Africa is ahead of India. So the type of work they have done on financial connectivity, right, through technology. In fact, long back you were able to make payment using SMS before we even saw the QR code based payment in India. So I believe we have to learn from all across the world. Some pockets of hope are there everywhere, and we have to connect the dot. I come to you next, Anand. So Anand, we talked about digital infrastructure, but digital infrastructure doesn't just help farmers, but also the overall agriculture ecosystem. And if we talk about from Farmgate to the end consumer, how do you see this digital infrastructure is going to help commodity players like you, whether we talk about the trading community as well as you who are the service provider for the commodities?
So before, thanks Deepak for the opportunity. I have a couple of thoughts which are very contradictory to what I have heard so far from you and Parmesh ji.
Please go ahead. You're known for that,
So
Anand.
my thoughts are like, government has to create that physical the digital infrastructure. But when it comes to India, I think we have to first get our narratives right. We have a lot of assumptions in terms of what is going wrong, what we have to do. Fortunately, to some of the narratives which are set by the European or the Western countries, wherein they advise us to do this traceability, blockchain, and all blockchain to everything. What we need right now as a country is to get our basics right. Basics right in terms of the package of practices to be adopted, and then land aggregation is a problem which we are not addressing as a country till now. See, any tech whether government subsidize, government will build infrastructure, but end of the day it's going to be a taxpayer money only. It is not that government has their own money, it is the taxpayer money which will get utilized, or some investors pumping money into this. Aggregation, like instead of 10 people trying different model, one entity doing it will save a lot of cost for the country. But uh, to cut the long story short, the uh, idea of what we need as a country needs to be established first. We are trying to not solve the land aggregation problem, which is why any tech which is or any infrastructure which has to be built in has to add value for the farmer. Deepak, you mentioned that farmer is able to realize value. Why? And you also mentioned that 1600 startups, got money, but now the funding winter has set in, so people are not getting money because they have not been able to sustain profitably. So most of the models are not profitable because we are looking on those models which have done well in the Western European countries. But when it comes to the Indian farmers, where the land holdings are small, people are not ready to pay. See, end of the day, people should be willing to pay. Now, look at the value add from, say, UPI or Aadhaar. There's a value add which is generated. People are paying if they put charges on UPI transaction. I'm sure so in vain that somebody will put some charges and it will be paid by the users. Problem with agri, independent the company try to come and do, it becomes very, very difficult to turn profitable. They need to have an integrated offering in terms of the services which they have to give or the product offering. And no doubt, I agree that this digital infrastructure integration, like we have that agri stack being developed by government, going to help all the entities which are there. But the crux of the matter is how long you will subsidize this infrastructure which is available, because someday you will have to charge. Whether the cost will be borne by the company or the farmer has to be seen, because end of the day, it has to be passed on to the consumer. So with the land holding again going fragmented every year on year basis, we have a huge challenge ahead. So, the elephant in the land aggregation, anything else right now for us.
No, perfect. I totally agree. Like, the small land holding is one of the problem which the sector has been facing for a long time. And to be very frank, that is also very a political issue, right? About like how to aggregate that. I think government is on the right track when they're talking about FPO and cooperative sector. That could be one mechanism, because otherwise, like, as we move forward, the land fragmentation is going to increase, because India is having this, the social structure in which a father passes his land to his son, and generally son don't work together. They have their own viewpoints. One wants to start a business, other want to do farming. So in that scenario, what you do? So I will say that there are cultural issues which can only be solved at I would say at political level. Technical level, I only would add here that I strongly believe going forward, because of digital technology and capability of what the technology can bring on table, we might be able to be more efficient even in small farms. I would always say that a large farm is more efficient for sure. There are no two doubt about that. But at the same time, for example, from tractors, which to be efficient, right? You need at least 10 to 12 hectares. Then only you'll be able to utilize it for 40% of the time in your own farm. But our farmers are, as I said, majority of them are 1 hectare. So still they have tractors, and then you go to farm, they say that actually it is a useless for me because you hardly use it. And Uberization of tractor has not worked. So many people tried, but it didn't work out for various reasons. But at the same time, with the low cost drone, the chances are better that even it can take care of 1 hectare farm also. So I would say that the technology innovation currently answer is that are there technologies which can make huge efficiency changes in a small farm itself? Answer is maybe no. But I believe that I'm optimistic that going forward there could be say bots. If you start getting for say 50,000, 60,000 an automated bot which can do in 1/20th of the cost of a tractor what a tractor is able to do right in the farm, that could be a game changer. And I've seen some those bot, they were too costly in Germany and in Netherlands, but if their cost, let's assume, come down by 20 times or 30 times, they can be very effective. So going forward, I believe I totally agree with you that there are structural issues, policy issues, and at the same time also the mindset issues, right? Even yesterday I was in a conference. I was saying that if 80% of the money is spent in agriculture by the central government, why state should have any say in that, right? But at the same time, the defragmentation happens because at different state, different type of policies are there, and then actually it confuses everyone. So a startup might, with the same philosophy, work very well in say Uttar Pradesh or Maharashtra. If they try to scale up in Gujarat, they'll find that actually the market factors are not positive. I would go to Dushyantji next. Sir, Dushyantji, you have spent I would say trillions of years in agriculture sector, and someone who stitched around all the APMCs together and come out with something which is Dushyantji, are you there? Because I don't see you, but
I am here, very much here.
सर आपकी शक्ल नहीं थी that's better.
अभी दिख गई.
So sir, from you, I would like to understand that we have seen that Indian supply chain, agricultural supply chain, as even Anand was mentioning, there is inefficiencies in that, right? But within the government system, right, with different state rules, regulation, egos of bureaucrats to ministers, you were able to stitch ENAM pretty well. Your experiences and what gives you confidence that going forward, same thing can be replicated and the digital of agriculture infrastructure can be a reality.
See, Deepak, things have changed a lot in last 10 years. When we basically started this journey on Enam. So internet connectivity was not that great. The smartphones were not there. But what I can see, I mean, if you look at the adoption, initially going to Indian marketplaces called APMC and start doing anything there was kind of a taboo, a system which you could have never touched. And they were the most against, bringing any kind of a transparency. But yes, I am quite hopeful, and things are, I feel, are going in right way. And one day they have to that has to happen. I mean, Indian agriculture, in my view, cannot go beyond this. Where, like Anand said, we have a chronic problem or critical problem and ever increasing problem of dropping holding size. Second, you have to institutionalize your credit and insurance systems. And third, at one point of time, you have to improve productivity, right? And obviously the quality matters everywhere, right from production systems to market processing and everywhere. And this all is possible through a connected agriculture ecosystem. And it is possible, Parmesh sir has rightly indicated, and basically that's the only way. We have to create a robust, solid digital public infrastructure across value chain. This is what we call connected agriculture to me. So where you have data capture right from soil to plant, plant to systems, and then markets, everything is to be interlinked. And then finally, we are looking towards plot level intelligence. It's not going to be exactly a plot level intelligence in our case in India, but definitely it would be a cluster level intelligence. So I am quite hopeful. In last 10 years, we have digitized 1,720 markets, 23 states, 4 union territories, navigating all the regulatory issues across all these state governments. And there is a great differential in the quality of implementation of Enam initiative. For example, Tamil Nadu is 100% digital. 100% digital trade. Rajasthan is 80, 70, 80%. UP, very minimal. So these are the systemic anomalies. You cannot change, you cannot change systemic anomalies in one go. But yes, if you deliver the value and if you make a moment, if you make a moment, so things becomes quite easier in this country. And I see now, if the system is not functioning in any of the state, how much they are using, what we have achieved, that is a separate case. At least the basic fundamental of opaqueness in terms of information symmetry, asymmetry, fragmentation of information, opaqueness in price discovery, weak quality price linkages, and fragmented market access. So you have a market where you can see price movement for 239 commodities in real time across country. This discovery itself is putting up a pressure on the things inside a market. And farmers are getting, why farmers are also getting aware that they have to move on and adopt these technologies fast, starting from precision agriculture to digital markets. But a lot has to happen in terms of that public digital infrastructure. You really need to have products which basically value chain financing, direct farm financing, all these has to happen.
So I totally agree with you. And in fact, see, all the digitization and the great work we have done, that has reduced substantial amount of people making money just by disinformation or information arbitrage. There was a time that actually only specific type of player used to make money in commodity markets because access to information was very limited. Those who are having 30, 40, 50 people on field in different key origins, they would only know that actually what is the availability, what are the prices going on, and the rest of the people would be just be going the way actually these people are talking about. Now, in fact, I run a very popular group known as Know Your Commodity, right? So from the policy to the information, what are the price points, right? It is available to everyone. What's happening in Kenya to tour, right? If a person sitting in Tanzania or sitting in Mozambique is having that information, what happening in his backyard, right? That information is made available to someone who is trading in India itself. So I think, and at the same way, what's happening in Akola or what's happening in, say, your Karnataka would be known to someone sitting in Delhi straight away. So I think that level of transparency at least is there. After that, also if people lose money, that is up to them. But I think at least the information symmetry has, to a certain extent, has been achieved.
Deepak, in 1 minute, I just want to explain you how much we have achieved. In a typical, trade platform or e-commerce platform, you really need to have, good number of people to sell and buy. There really need to be a transparent price discovery, which is happening up to larger extent even today. Then once the transaction, you should enable that transaction. I mean, basis leads. Once you enable the transfer, but once the transaction is done, then you have to enable the transaction. I mean, you need somebody to finance that transaction. And once the final, transaction is enabled, then comes the major part, where, Arya deals or other supply chain companies have to work how to settle that transaction. We are very good in that. $52 billion worth transactions we have settled in 7 years without much of any problem. All the mode of transactions are available. But once it comes to delivery, I mean, how to basically enable that delivery and how to settle that delivery. So 50% of the job is done to the larger extent, but rest of the market operationalization is completely dependent upon the quality, technology development and infrastructure development. So you sell, I buy, it is decided, you pay, I receive. But somebody really need to finance that transaction like in a typical e-commerce platform. You can decide, how many EMIs I will have. Or for that case, trade discounts, or for that case, transaction discounts or billing discounts. So this all has to happen, and I believe it will take another 10 years, but things are going in right direction. State governments are conducive, basically users are of late realizing at least the power of information.
Right. I totally agree. The farmer trust on such solutions is also increasing. Now I go to you, Unni sir. Actually, you have spearheaded multiple companies, last mile access with the farmer, trying to bringing advisory and solution to them through your activity towards input. Now you are wearing a new hat. So from you, sir, I would like to understand that uh, what are we giving as a digital companies to the farmer and what farmer needs? What gap do you see? Because you are an expert in understanding the farmer needs and actually what needs to be delivered. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here, Deepak. And all these years interacting with multiple farmers and talking to them and understanding what are the problems and how technology can actually help in their operations. One of the first thing I want to call out is basically trust. One of the reasons why most of the startups are failing to have the traction with farmers is basically because of the fact that any information which is going to have substantial impact on their farming operations, just coming through a mobile phone is very difficult for them to digest and directly use it for their day-to-day business operations, right? So that is the key thing. So unless and until they do have a human in the loop, who basically can be called in case if there are doubts, the adoption becomes very, very difficult. And also all these cyber crimes and stuff like that are also not helping in this particular process. That is one thing. Secondly, a farmer, when they are looking at their seasonal cycle, typically they are confronted with around 40 decision points, all the way from selecting a crop to a hybrid, a seed selection, and then associated agronomy, which they are supposed to practice, the farmer practices, which was called out by Mr. Anand earlier. So we basically do have a lot of data and explicit knowledge, implicit knowledge when it comes to these kinds of practices, but they are not clearly codified and standardized so that we can actually deliver together with the contextual knowledge we will have from a farmer's perspective. That actually results in a fact that most of these solutions we are offering to farmers are, not in a contiguous fashion, but something, partial in nature. So that also essentially pushes people back from adopting these type of technologies. So that is the reason from AgriSensei, what we are basically pushing ahead is called the phygital model, which means basically there is a human in the loop. Apart from the technology we are actually offering to farmers. This way, we basically take more ownership and farmers do basically get a human to talk to and make sure that continuously we do have a cycle to collect the data from the field and then use it for making sure that our offerings are basically relevant from a farmer's perspective. And this is all across, basically from crop selection, seed selection, and then the whole soil testing, fertigation, irrigation, and all the other farmer practices they are supposed to follow. So in my view, the biggest challenge at this particular point is there is no clear, consistent set of practices which farmers can follow on a digital platform, especially when farmers are having couple of or 2-3 crops they are using, diversifying to manage their downside risk. So it's not only just one crop, but there are multiple crops they are farming at the same time, and they basically will need contextual aware advisory on which they can really take action. And these actions, once they take, they also want to make sure that it is reliable, and that means they do have a point of contact where they can ask questions and clarifications, and not only just follow blindly what's coming from the phone. So that's basically what we have learned so far, and that is how we are actually building this particular technology stack and human also in the loop.
No, I totally agree. Human in the loop is very important for a very simple reason that a lot of people actually are engaged with. They say that AI, just a year and a half back, people were not comfortable that AI can draft a legal letter. And now actually, 80% of initial legal documents are drafted by AI. I said actually, if you have a wrong legal document, then definitely judge will read it and will catch hold of you. If farmer actually apply a wrong prescription, right, for a different disease, he won't get a second chance. So this is where we have to be careful that AI is having own limitations, and it's still it is not as smart as human being. So human being in the loop, I think, is a very important. At least still actually that feedback loop is ensuring that we are 90 to 95% accurate. Otherwise, we are playing with the livelihoods and we are playing with lives of people. We should not be doing that. So excellent intervention, sir. So Morup, I go next to you because you are someone, you are one of the largest sugar mill trying to engage with the farmers, buying from them, engaging with them, hand-holding them. Because if their sucrose content is less, problem for you. If they are not paid on the time, problem for you. Right. So it is pretty complicated work for you. Like to understand from you that actually what digital intervention do you see which can make a farmer's life, whether it is about how he is doing the farming as well as post Farmgate, right, value chain. How do you see digitization helping farmer and also a company like DCM Shriram?
Right. Thank you so much, Deepakji. And again, a pleasure to hear from all the people who spoke before me a lot on digitization and everything. And I guess, I agree with some points, I disagree with some points, which we can talk later. But I think coming from the cane perspective, although I'm still relatively new to this value chain, but I strongly believe that cane value chain is one of the most transparent and traceable value chain you talk about compared to any other value chain, because it's highly regulated. The buyer, seller, both in this case know exactly what they're signing up for, and they know exactly what's happening at which point. And there is, at the truest technology or say digitized way of understanding that contract farming and things that we talk about, it is there. So my belief is that if there is a proper agri-tech solution which is to be integrated, I believe sugarcane should be the first one to be integrated, where the whole thing can really go, because you have the end-to-end connected, traceable, transparent, and that's how it is. Now, I think a lot of things that you talked about, the challenges about the cane quality and stuff. I think one of the challenges that, as a generally speaking from a mill's perspective, I would say that given the catchment area is limited, you cannot go beyond that catchment area. The first and the most important thing, in fact, that stands true for the farmers as well, that whatever limited land or farm area that you have to increase your yield. The more you increase your yield, that's the only way you can go ahead. And the way for increasing yield is, of course, the practices that we do, whether it's better nutrition, whether it's better seed, whether it's better input, whether it's better irrigation, and likewise. So I think this is where technology comes in very, very handy. This is where technology can really help one better. Why is it happening? Why is it not happening? That's another topic. But I think a lot of people have talked about how land fragmentation is an issue. I think that's an issue that I don't know how can we help. But increasingly, what we believe is I look at it from a perspective that when somebody is going out of the cane ecosystem, it's going to some other ecosystem. It could be another sector, it could be another value chain or something else. So the point is that we need to structure our offerings, our service orientation from that ecosystem's competition perspective, right? So what I mean to say is that if gradually the things that are happening from our perspective is building that ecosystem, whether it's a simple app which talks about enhancing soil nutrition, going for the right practices, having the farm mechanization facilities, because that's one of the things that is very, very critical in cane. And that's increasingly more and more workforce are going out. So people are not willing to take up a farming. I mean, that's the same thing for other value chain as well. So I think for gradually, not just for us, in fact, for every group company, is becoming very, very important to build that right marketplace or that service orientation ecosystem. And that's service-based orientation from all the perspective, not just focusing on one aspect or let's say on irrigation and soil testing only, but which encompasses a complete product stack. I think that's something that all of us are gunning for. And one of the things I think, gradually it is really coming to places is that the new technology that is coming right now. I think we talk about what kind of new technology we're developing for our farmer, for our last mile extension workers, but we do not really talk about what those interventions of technology can do, how our top management can actually make a decision from that perspective. What I mean to say is that the tacit knowledge of every value chain that is actually existing there has never really come out, to my opinion, which now with the agentic AI, which now with the studios offered by various technology providers like Google, Copilot and stuff, this is going to come out because at a single prompt for a guy in a middle management, they can actually develop amazing platform, very, very hyper localized, customized from the perspective. And a senior management, which with all due respect, with high knowledge of them, there are people that have interacted with, they have huge knowledge, but the introduction of looking at the technology layer, looking at the same value chain from a technology layer is somehow missing, which I believe using these AIs as a thought partner can change that. The whole lookup, the way business has been looked up, that will change completely. So I think that's something that is really going to change. And this is how, from an ecosystem perspective, we want to make changes. We want to build that service ecosystem, whether it's for a mechanization or for a soil part or for irrigation and likewise. Yeah.
No, Morup, frankly, I really appreciate, and in fact, in various ISTA and ISMA, those type of conferences, I've talked about the great work of sustainability done by DSM Shriram. And you rightly said that actually it is regulated. In fact, what you pay to farmer is very clear. It's based on FRPs and state administrative price. At the same time, MSP is also given by the government, right? So both the ends are very clearly regulated. But I have a very big grudge with the sugar industry also. I'll tell you what. Right. What's happening is that you are dependent on government policy on the diversion to ethanol at the same time on the typically increase in MSP as well as export quotas. Now that depends only one data point. That data point is what is our production. And you'll be surprised to know that actually I've struggled for past 2.5 to 3 years making the top bosses, the associations, the government understand the value of remote sensing, very basic technology. Previously, we used to have problem that actually farm identification was a problem. Now we are having very easily farm boundary mapping, the technologies evolved that even if you are having 0.1 hectare farm, right, it can very easily be done without the human intervention. So basic ground truthing and then actually working and the yields and some of the topmost, I would say remote sensing companies in India, I've engaged with most of them and they're finding it very difficult to push this basic idea that actually why can't we have pan India real-time monitoring every 15 days of the crop, right? And there are only 3 states, but nobody wants to do that. So a company is strong in UP. They said, okay, fine, we'll do with our farmer, or maybe even we don't do that. And then actually there is speculation that the productivity would be 28. It ends up with 32, right? And then you said the productivity is 36. It ends up with 32 on the other side. So I'm saying the one basic data to make policies in sugar or sugar and ethanol combo is production. Right, and it's not rocket science. We all know that, but nobody's doing it. And here, not even farmer is not involved. It has to be done by the government and the companies involved, but they are not investing in it. Unfortunately, nobody want to invest.
No, I can't speak for everyone, and I think what you mentioned about the remote sensing technology or crop classification, farm delineation, other part. I agree with you that technology is mature enough right now to be inculcated, not just for sugarcane. In fact, it's for all the value chains. I think more and more people are taking up. I understand there was a hesitancy in the past, which I also understood when I was not part of the industry, but I understand right now is that more and more people are actually gearing up and looking forward to these technologies, and not just technologies, these technologies, but a lot of other sense of technologies. One challenge that I find is that, okay, why has it not happened? Why the other IoT and other things hasn't really taken up? Because I think this is something that not just the sugar industry, every value chain is going through a perpetual pilot syndrome of sorts. Everybody does pilot, but what's going to happen beyond that, no one tells you. And I think that's something from the service provider or technology provider as well. They can tell you exactly how you can do pilot, but cannot tell you exactly beyond the pilot. And that's something that together we need to figure out. I guess it's that syndrome one needs to break out of, and I think things can change. But having said that, I think there are a lot of technologies, many things that I can talk that many people are doing. We ourselves are a part of multiple such programs, and I'm sure in the coming days this will be a change. But I think that's challenge that how do we move beyond pilot is something that we together as an industry need to figure out. And I think it's a pain point for everybody, not just the value chain of sugarcane.
No, and in fact, you'll be surprised, or you might already be knowing that, right? I think what we started doing in 2014, 2015, we talked about fragmentation, which happened like, as a policy long back, or other things which are the chronicle problem with Indian agriculture. Another chronicle problem with Indian agriculture and agtech ecosystem has become that actually where the burden of the cost is always put on the startups, the technology innovator. Unlike in West, unlike even in Africa, like, this mindset of free pilots, right? You do the pilot, then I'll see the data, and then I'll come back to whether I want to scale it up or
Yeah.
not. And
Yeah.
that has led to, like, I would say unwanted exploitation of startups, right? Where see, technology failure is, I can understand, could be put it on the service provider, but you agreed that this business model is going to work. Then eventually, after the whole pilot, you come to know that actually this dashboard might not be that useful to me, but you are knowing exactly what is going to be coming on your dashboard, how much return, percentage of return, and say, no, this is not useful to me. But when you
Yeah.
signed up for a pilot, you knew that
Yeah.
actually you will be getting this much only. But I think even the business model, large companies, mid-sized companies, the end user, they are also not clear how to use technology. But the burden eventually goes on startup doing pilot in a
Yeah.
perpetual mode for years and years. They don't
Yeah.
want to lose a customer after 3 years, and they keep on giving free service, and then they shut down.
So in fact, that's exactly what I said. Somewhere the industry
And
has
you
to
have been on
break
the
out
other
of
side of the
this.
table as well. That's why
No,
I'm touching it with
absolutely.
you.
No, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'll speak the same truth. As I said, I started with the same narrative before you asking me the question that somewhere
Right,
we have to break out of this perpetual pilot scenario. Like, we cannot be going on doing
right.
the pilots. In the name of digital transformation, if you do some pilot, that's not exactly how. If you really want to look at the value that the technology brings to your value chain, you cannot keep technology at arm's length and say that now you do it. We are not going to let it touch. It doesn't work like that. I think that mindset needs to change. So I feel that today it's not just the challenge is not really building up technology. Challenge is about having that right mindset to actually adopt technology and see that how it works. And one of the things which I said, when we talk about a lot of digital literacy, in the name of digital literacy, what we're trying to do is doing a lot of apps and everything for the last mile guys. But have we actually worked out such a technology which really encompasses for the top level management and say that this is how you do it? Do you have that simulation? Do you have all this perfect sort of a technology which really tells you what's going to happen in the next 1 year, 2 year, 3 or 4? What happens? What's going to happen? What's not going to happen? How do you do it? That decision support system has never been there. These simple pilots are never going to give you those things, which is where I'm saying if you have a complete package of a complete orientation for those set of guys as well, this can change. But I agree with you. I don't think it's a right way of doing business. I think it has the ownership has to be on both sides, and until the time every group, every company adopts technology, integrates technology in their value chain, this cannot change.
Right. So now, thanks a lot, Morup. Now I'll go to Mr. Bheemsha. Sir, actually, like, you have been on the implement side, you have been on the mechanization side. From you, we would like to understand what digital intervention you believe are required to ensure that our utilization of machinery increase. Otherwise, India is known as, like, I would say that graveyard of tractors, right? We are having so much of horsepower, but if we go with a farmer and talk to them, and which I do regularly, right? They are buying tractor because actually it make them in a different league that now we are a tractor owner. But when it comes to their utilization, like, it is like, hardly the fraction of overall time that, like, they should be able to get a good ROI out of that. Or matter of fact that you'll have tractors with very limited implements because buying implement is not a possibility for them. And then actually you end up tractor being used as like, just another equipment to, or another transport mechanism, right? Moving sand or moving construction material rather than being on the ground. What intervention, according to you, can increase the utilization of farm mechanization equipment, sir?
First of all, Deepakji, thank you so much for inviting me for the discussion. If you see, just touch about the data, like this year it is going to be 11 to 12 lakh industry, tractor industry, and in the same level, whatever the value is there, including the organized and unorganized implements, the value will be the same. But if you count only the organized, it will be around 25% of the total tractor value. But still, it is very big. So if you see the adoption or I mean the usage or adoption of the technology in tractor industry up to 2000 before COVID, it was very less. Okay. First, the most important thing what actually I suggest is the connecting devices. For example, telemetrics. Okay. Now most of the companies, especially the MNCs and Indian like we also started telemetrics in some of the models actually. So which will give the complete the data about the utilization of the tractor, how many hours, what kind of climatical condition it is working, and how much idle situation is there. So those kind of telemetric data the tractors are giving. That is one which is going to help to the farmers as well as for the manufacturers to see the complete usage of the tractors. Second is the digital serviceability, like prediction analysis. The apps are the technology, which will give the complete prediction of, like, for example, the gearbox failure, the clutch failure, the rear axle, the engine failure prediction. So that will reduce the downtime. Like, for example, when something happened, he has to come to the service. It will take 2 to 3 days time, and the tractor will be idle. Parts will come, and so that 1 week's time is gone. So that will definitely reduce the time of the utilization of the tractor, and hence the productivity will increase. Hence the tractor will be utilized for the different application in the marketplace. And most important is like the digital payment. For example, today what actually happen, the most of the tractor, I mean in the rural, whenever the owner goes for a hiring, he is giving for a hiring his tractor plus driver, only the diesel payment he get most of the location, and the balance payment he will get payment after during the season, after harvesting, something like that. So where digital intervention can be one of the best solution from the NBFCs, and they can give the funds or financing on the usage per hour kind of a payments and financing. And the most important is like the Ola Uber, like the platform, how they work. That is also one of the very big opportunity. That kind of a platform, like a digital platform, digital booking, digital invoicing, scheduling. So those things, technology also can definitely help to reduce the idle, situation of the tractors. And the important is like in US and Europe, if you see the John Deere or some other company, okay, so they have built implement tractor, and with the help of GPS, with the help of satellite, all those things they are integrated together, and they run together actually. So utilization of implement tractor and all other equipment. So such a beautiful combination that actually reduce the time and improve the productivity of the tractor and implement. That hence the farmer income will go up. Hence the tractor utilization will go up. So that kind of technology, if India also adopt, as of now, I can say only 1 or 2% penetration in some of the location. Okay, with some location, New Holland is there, so there are some technology they are adopting. But as of now, the penetration is very low. That technology definitely will help. Last, the precision farming. Okay, the precision farming, like the help of the image, the crop image, and what kind of the pesticides can be done, what can, when he can go for plowing, when can go for seeding, when he can go for intercultivation, when he can go for pesticide, all the fertilization. So all those information through apps, through apps helping from the organization, big organization, that definitely will help to the farmer to go on time seeding, on time harvesting, on time pesticide. Because sometime what actually happen, he has done irrigation, next day rainfall is coming. So it is waste of water. So that kind of things are happening in India. So I think this precision farming technology, which actually can connect to satellite and IoTs and connect to all the GPS system and can help to farmers. So these are the some of the technology, like I told connecting operations, I told digital rental, so then I told about precision farming. So these are the some of the technology, like predictive analysis in the tractors. This definitely will help to optimize the tractor performance in the field.
Perfect. No, so actually, in fact, 2018 end, I had opportunity of giving a workshop at Mahindra Research Valley, Singapore in Chennai, right? And
Okay.
we talked about all this thing, and that time Mahindra was also working on a very small, low-cost, battery-based EV tractor, and engaged with the team there also, and worked on what telemetry could be useful for farmer, right? So I know Mahindra has always had view of moving ahead of the time with right innovation, and I believe going forward we will see more innovation. So now I would like to go to
We one
someone.
input, sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
Deepakji,
please.
one input. Like one of the technology already we adopted telemetrics in our tractors. Okay, connecting devices to the apps to the mobile. So that I mean, thanks. You may be one of the leader. You have suggested and you have given a guidance to our MRV. So we already implemented in some of the product actually. Some
No,
of
no,
the
you
product.
have done, in fact, a lot of telemetry from Scorpio, right, was
Yeah.
taken for tractor also. So, you have been very innovative. So, I appreciate the great work Mahindra always does. And being an Indian brand, it gives us a lot of pride to us when we move across the world and we see a Mahindra vehicle going around. So, always a pleasure. Now, I would like to
Thank you,
go to
Deepakji. Thank you, sir.
yeah. So now I would like to go to Vikram. So Vikram actually, is the director of AgriGuru Online, which is trying to create a digital twin for traders, importers, exporters. He himself from the trading background, and he has created a beautiful system where actually, automation of the paperwork as well as price discovery, right? Whether in case I want to import something from Kenya, adding the price, adding the freight, and also all the other dynamic cost, right? And providing it to the end user is what he does. Over to you, Vikram. Your use actually, what you are doing.
Deepakji, thank you. First of all, good evening and good afternoon to everyone. And it is wonderfully seeing all the together, everybody, and HNYB has organized this virtual roundtable on AgTech. I would really love to.
Thank you to you also, Vikram, for sponsoring it.
Thank you, and it's our honor to sponsor it, as you are a part of it too in agri business. So yes, see, as we discuss, but if I say when we talk about the, mostly of the time, if you talk about the agriculture and digital transformation, it's end at the farm or at the farmers, right? But we actually forget who are actually the value adding people or who are the business people. Those are actually exporters and importers, and they are always actually not considered in part of industry. And we always talk, okay, farmer is facing this, agriculture is facing this. So actually being a trader, being a solution maker as a AgriGuru Online, I would love to actually diversify the subject in terms of agriculture with the agri-tech, how it is going to help through AgriGuru Online. So see, why we actually discuss that, see, we are in this industry. Most of the industry actually has been developed recently. Either you talk about the bank, either you talk about insurance, either even now, even our government itself is adopting a technology in agriculture. But in actually export import, There is no proper technology has been developed. So what we actually as a AgriGuru online, we are actually focusing on main three problems, which actually can help through the AI and different technologies. Like, the first problem what we are trying to solve in the AgriGuru is price updates. Mostly, if you see right now, there are many actually platforms, they are actually built on a farmer's price or local mandi price and data and market analysis, all this. But if you see currently, if you want to see any of the countries a particular dollar or CNF or FOB price for the particular product or particular agri commodity, you will not be able to find it easily. So what we are trying to build with this is we are building a full database for most of the actually the main leading importers, exporters, and then every product will be, most of the agri products will be available on that platform. So that's how, and how actually it will help. Because if you see right now, there are many information, like if you go and ChatGPT and you ask the price for the particularly rice, sugar, or particularly commodity, you will not be able to find actual what is a today's a current price. But if you want to buy a particular a bread packet or any small item on Instamart or Zomato, you'll find a easily price and you can buy it. But for these commodities, there is no easy solution. And with this, what we are actually solving is this price, you can come on the platform and easily, even the farmer can see that how the demand is coming and what was the last year price, what was the 5 years before price, and what we have added, that's a price prediction. So see, as I said, how the farmers actually is going to be helpful. A farmer now, every farmer knows what is a today's currency price, what is a today's a dollar price, right? But actually what is a today market price, they don't know. So even from the farmer to supplier to trader, exporters and importer, even the end user can be helpful. And what we have done is what that is a AI we have developed in backend with the algorithm, that with the 5 years data, we can predict those charts and those analytical things. Now there is a second problem what we are actually working, that is also a freight rate and freight rate. Right now, if you see, if you want to check from India to Mombasa, like Mundra to Mombasa, Nawaseba to Mombasa, Vietnam to Africa, or even here to Dubai, anywhere, there is no standard platform for the exporters and importers where they can actually get this information and data. Now, see, many of the panelists, even Ramesh ji has talked about the data. How data is actually value. The main value of the data is the information, how we collect the data, right? And that data should be used. Right now, if you go in the medical or any pharmacy, what did you buy before 1 month? Even just put a one number of yours, they will be able to find it. What did you buy? But right now, if exporter is exporting even the high volume value, they are not able to have a one proper technology where they can just have a one software. They can make it like they have to connect to the farmer, they have to connect to the trader. Okay, all these informations are there, but through the technology for the exporters, because see, we are talking farm, okay, I understand, but why exporter will grow if their product will not be able to sold easily? Because of the devaluation of the products. See, right now, what's happening in the rice industry and most of the traders, this is, see, all experts are talking about the agriculture news update, but where there is a standardization. Now crypto is coming, this is coming, but the rice price before 10 years, what was the price? Still today the same price. What is a modernization? There is no technology has been adopted where we can actually, but because what we focus, okay, farmer, but how the farmer can actually increase their purchasing power or their own capacity with the high yield or high value, and that will be only short if we have a very good export of our own commodity. Because right now, okay, rice is a 40% of volume we are having in the worldwide, but if you compare to the other commodities, like there are, I'm like, see, we have a almond, we have a cashew, but actually US is actually even making a bigger value in the almonds and cashew. Why? Because they have created that kind of marketing and that kind of cluster and ecosystem. Even if I can give you the example of cashew, the Vietnam is not actually a main biggest volume exporter, but they import a huge volume and then they export it through the production and through the actually repacking and rebranding. See, why I'm trying to talk about the freight or price and there is a solution, this will also ultimately help a farmer only, not only just exporter or importer. And this technology still we believe in the old fashion. And there is a third solution we are trying to build in, that is a smart documentation. Because a smart document, still today, we are already actually, having the old fashioned technology. Still people are using Excel sheet. Still people are using, there is no technology, there is no ERP, there is no proper technology where from the custom data to the exporter's invoice, you just have a one platform, you just input the data and you'll be able to find. With this, we are actually trying to build one ecosystem where most of the importers exporter can come and they can have a one platform in order to see either is a price, either it is a freight rate, or either it is a smart. I would love to actually talk about the, but as Deepak ji and most of the people are actually more expert in the agriculture, I would not love to talk about what this, but yes, I would actually believe that we all should work in a one channel where these kind of platform can help actually exporters and importer too, where
So
either
Vikram,
AI,
Vikram,
IoT.
just one point here, right? See, I totally agree that the currently the availability of the platform for the trading community, specifically the global trading community, when we are talking about import and export part of it, is a
Yeah,
missing picture. Now, the one of the reason it's a missing picture is that actually the information is gold, right? The people who had information, they never wanted such platform to be there, right?
right.
I would not agree that a Cargill or a Olam or a ATG doesn't have capacity of creating that system, but they themselves don't want that information to be shared, right?
Right.
A DP World would like their freight data to be negotiated rather than be available on the click of a button, right? Otherwise, because see, the same container, you will be able to see somebody has taken for the same ship at $230, right? Another person would have taken for $180 also. So people play with information arbitrage as well. And the larger the player, more data he is having and the more data he wants to, I would say, hide.
And
You are doing a phenomenal work in trying to collect and put all these things, and definitely going forward, I think transparency is going to increase. For very simple is that technology is evolving. So
right.
at the same time, actually, also when we talk about focus being on the farmer most of the time, right? I would also say that one of the fallacy of our ecosystem, right, price discovery or information discovery, is uh, we try to start from the
True.
farmer price, then add on that the mandi cost, then add on top of it at the logistic cost, and add on the top of it XYZ.
True.
Actually, it has to be like, generally, any commodity, it is the buyer who start or who create the price point. If I'm not ready to buy something for $100, I don't care farmer has made it for $80 or $10 or $90 or $500. I don't care. For me, the value is $100. If you give
True.
me a chapati for 50 rupees, I'll eat. If not, I'll go for rice, right?
True.
Because 50 rupees se zyada I don't want to give for my chapati. As simple as that.
Right. Right.
So I think that the structure, like, with players like you who are thinking on other ways, right? I'm not saying that it's easy. What you're doing is a difficult task. Wish you all the best, and you'll find a lot of challenges going forward for sure with the
Sure.
information. And Dushyant ji, I would ask you to drop in, right? You have seen, like, you're working from the farmer price and the discovery on the platform. This gentleman is trying from the other way around, where right, he's putting his hand in the lion's mouth, right, and don't want to be bitten. Your advice to not just Vikram, but people like Vikram who are trying to do right things, but which are challenging. Your view, sir.
See, I mean, one thing is for sure, the way AI is going to play a role and information, this is the right time. It is required for long. not only in grains or commodity, very well we discussed many times, Deepak, fertilizers, this information opaqueness and that arbitrage between demand and supply, that opaqueness between demand and supply. So I will not say quarters. Somehow that got consolidated in the hands of large players, those who have national footprint or those who have international footprints. So democratization of information is indeed a challenge, but it's going to basically give relief to large number of stakeholders, right? So my advice is please continue, start inside out. To start with, you can work with few commodities, maybe try to map all the stakeholders for those commodities, and I can assure you, you are going to get a lot of support from the ecosystem and as well as the technology. Because
Right.
if not today, maybe in next 5 years we are going to see a lot of data information getting democratized inside this country and as well as globally. For example, in India, why look at it, Enam. Enam is a national agriculture market. It's not only about farmer to market or B2B, primary or secondary trade happening inside the mandis. To me, it's about $50 billion plus export, and more than that, almost the double amount of imports coming to the country, all oilseeds, pulses, fertilizers. Then we will have a true national agriculture market, and it really need to a good market. Harmonized market basically is not there to centralization. We are building this, and we are basically lobbying a lot and arguing a lot with all the stakeholders to make a market which is better interoperable. So the next version of Enam is going to be plug and play.
Right.
For now, a lot of regulation and everything, and it's kind of a designed or controlled play. But once, the Enam 2 will be completely microservices based architecture, and anyone can plug and play. That challenge to convince government policymakers not to fear to share the data.
Right.
So all these bans today, suddenly you will find export of X commodity is banned or import of X commodity is opened. So all this have to move to information one day, to the systems one day, away from human. Then probably we will have a equitable distribution of value on more fundamental plane. So that consumers are finally getting the right kind of a value they are paying for a commodity, and farmers will definitely that once you equate the value created, definitely the major benefit goes to farmers. This is how I see architecturally whatever you are doing. My advice to you, don't give up. Time is right. And yes, a lot of things are changing around us. You have far better. See, when I was a child, I'm coming from a farming family. We used to see commodity prices next day, newspaper, then radio, then TV, then something on internet. Today you just download one application, and I can tell you, on Enam the prices are 100% accurate. They are better than any other price dissemination mechanism I will not name. We are having some government mechanism, government portals, those who were basically doing this job for long. Right now, they are basically extracting data from us, and wherever they find, some anomaly, they are correcting it, because ours is a 100% automated system and away from the human intervention. But this is very much required. So you start with maybe limited number of commodities and continue to increase your. It's a massive job, and all of us are with you. It's needed most.
No, I agree, Dushyant ji. Like, Egg Market, like, you talked about one of the agency which right now access to that information, like, so I work closely with Vikram, where he started recently with working with him. Right. Now, actually, sir, they don't give you any access to API. So what you have to do is that you have to do the screen scraping and all that. Why to make things so difficult, unfortunately, where actually, like, see, government's intention is to disseminate the information to as many people as possible. Why not to give API access and let everybody publish it, right? It's good for the right social good.
I really don't understand when we will have a complete, operating, implemented data security policy. It has been 10 years. Parmesh sir knows it. It is a 20 years old issue in this country.
So I would Parmesh only. Next, let me go to Parmesh ji. Sir, your views that we talk about AI, we talk about like, all the data being required, right? But there seems to be like, challenges in the framework, how the government approach it. And with the World Bank, you've done so many successful projects across the world. According to you, what could be the good, great template for governments to adopt so that actually they can leverage the overall value of digitization globally, sir? And especially in countries like India or Global South.
I think the need is to create an open data network, because we have now signed a very important partnership with Google. So we are saying that a lot of this data, which always remains proprietary, if it comes, even 20% of that comes in the public domain, a lot of people will do and develop products and services out of it. And I can give you an example of USDA's forecasts. Almost all the commodity trade in USA happens based on USDA forecast, and that has been converted into AI-based models where you can do predictions and you can decide how you get forward contracts as opposed to spot contracts. All the smallholders always are doing spot contracts, and you can never make any money on spot contracts. If you can communicate how much you are producing and what quality you are producing and get a forward contract, you make more money. It's a very simple economics. And I have looked at the data now from Europe and Netherlands and all farms are not big. But basically because that data, as Dushyant was also saying, has become democratized now, and a lot of people, small traders, SMEs, all have access to that information, they are able to play in the market a little bit more. So I think in India, the problem is that even with AgriStack, I have been trying to convince the government that even AgriStack make it open data. So with Google, we are saying that with AI, we are working with their whole cloud team, Gemini team, they're all working with us, that can we create an open data network and a platform where you get data out of any source anywhere in the world. And that comes into the AI and it's accessible to anyone at any point of time. So I think it is not optimal in the beginning, but our initial pilots are showing phenomenal results. We are using that same data for credit access, in which farmers are getting credit scores based on that data, which is coming from that. And the banks are now giving 30-minute approvals of loans based on that. That's our, I think with AI, I personally feel people will not be able to hold on to data for longer. People will scrape data from any part of the world where it's collected, and they will get access to data there. Now, that's happening with chatbots. I was in Varanasi just about 2 months back, and farmers were getting prices from West Bengal and everywhere. They were making these creeper vegetables, 1 crore worth vegetables. And they increased prices by 35% by asking these questions and getting access to this data for which no information was collected by anyone. But there was data in the market which they were able to access to. So I think this AI and open access data, I think, is the future, basically. And we would like to create an open data network with Google and many other people. Not just that Google will have proprietary on that, but we feel that that should be a public good. So it is what I call as a DPI for agribusiness and agri-trade, basically.
Exactly.
And in the last DPI summit in Cape Town, we really brought in all the players together, and we even are telling Olam and Cargills to put their data there, because you are rightly saying that they have the model is based on exclusionary kind of models, and you become exclusive, even they are not growing beyond a point because they are exclusive. So if they really build an ecosystem, and as Vikram also said rightly, that if we bring this together, this will become, many players will become part of expanding the agri value chain. Because of this proprietary model, you are really not letting a lot of people grow with that. So personally, I am in my last stage in the World Bank, and I am trying to make this as the focus, that we need to move from just DPI, as rightly saying, not only farmers, it should be DPI for agribusiness and agri-trade. And we should move away from the obsession with only smallholders, only productivity. This has destroyed the whole culture of that. So we need to really move the whole discussion to somewhere else. And I think we will present to you results after 1 year on what our open data network has shown there. And I will come to your platform at some stage. We'll bring the Google guys and lots of other agribusiness, SMEs, lots of players, and we are doing this with IFC and others. It's a big effort we are going to launch on that. Thank you.
Sir, I just want
No,
to
no.
add here, sir, even, it's going to happen. These parallel rails, parallel neurons coming from different aspect of market, different, parts of value chain, they will force regulator also to
Right.
give up.
No,
This
sir,
is very
I'll just
excuse
add
of in the
here,
name of security, keeping everything
Dushyantji,
close to heart.
Dushyantji,
Yeah.
very interestingly,
Yeah.
sometime back, Government of India has blocked access of egg magnet to any IP outside India
I know.
without understanding that people have something called VPN. Right. So see a trader, right, who's putting hundreds of crores on trade, he won't be able to subscribe $20 a month VPN.
Yes.
That is what I'm saying. Like, and Parmesh rightly said, like, the government needs to sanitize across the globe. Large agribusinesses need to be sanitized across the globe. That information eventually will come, right, in the market for sure. And by you yourself closing yourself, right, Krishi Bhavan, I meet so many government officials who are waiting on every 11th to have a USDA report.
Yes.
So like, you have to understand that, like, we need to create for public good, and at least the government needs to be participant, not restricting it, so that globally we are able to create an open data platform. And
Otherwise, technology is
like,
going to force it. Technology is going to make it.
Exactly. And
Like,
Parmesh,
gone
you
are
act
the
as a
days for
catalyst.
proprietary, duopoly, monopoly, anything. We
Right.
are heading towards a better world.
So, sir, any update, any support from us required, please, more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
As you said, your last part in the World Bank, we will be more
Always.
than happy to contribute. Now, coming to you, Unni ji, like, we have heard so much of discussion about on the commodity part of the game, right? Now, coming back, do you see farmer getting this information, which Parmesh ji also talked about, Vikram talked about, that eventually the market price information, when it comes to farmer, right, whether it is coming from an open platform or whether it is coming a proprietary platform which could be democratized by a player like Vikram, do you see that also playing a role? Because farmer can take a decision whether I should be growing rice or I should be growing makka, right? Currently, he's not having that price level information, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And as I said earlier, one of the first decision point a farmer faces during a crop cycle is the crop selection. In India, you can go for 140 different crops, and a farmer need to make a decision, which crop am I really going to go for? And as you know today, it is all about the previous harvest and what was the price and what people got. That decides the next crop. And that's exactly why we have this problem of cyclical, ups and downs. The supply is extremely high, demand is low, prices crash, and people basically resort to, the suicides and other things we are hearing, right? That
So you'll be
primarily,
surprised.
Yeah.
In this Kharif, we'll have makka equivalent to the whole Rabi plus Kharif.
absolutely. You know what is the
Because
reason
last year
behind
the
it?
prices it went up to 27, right? Above
Correct. And
MSP. Right?
because of the biofuel push from the government, the prices went
Exactly.
up. Everybody is now going to go for corn. And you know what? If the same policy supporting mechanisms are not there, prices are going to crash. Right?
So they've
So
already 16, 17 rupees is the price.
exactly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So I think what Parmesh basically said is absolutely true. A farmer can and should be able to predict the outcome they are going to get, so that they can actually make an informed decision in terms of what crop am I going to go for and why am I going to go for it, rather than going for the herd mentality outcome which is there today. So that is absolutely crucial. And the day we are able to allow the farmers to make these decisions for themselves, I think they basically will be starting to get the, doubling the farmer income objectives of the government, etc., will become the reality, I would say.
Perfect. So Anand, coming to you, like, storage plays a very important role when a farmer is able to identify that actually maybe after say 10 days, 20 days, or maybe after 40 days, based on some prediction, the prices would be better, right? In that scenario, storage plays a very important role. How do you ensure, like, with the type of technology you are having? Because I now start seeing Arya.ag, like more of a digital or technical player rather than just a logistic company. You are also doing all those, like, calibration based on the prices, providing the finance to even the FPOs, large farmers and traders. So how do you see this coming up? I understand some of the challenges you talked about, But let's assume in a good scenario where actually, how the data can be leveraged by your consumers.
So Deepak, I know I may be slightly outdated when it comes to data. My only firm belief is that I still have to see people paying money for the data getting used. So that is where I come from. We've been speaking about Cargill, LD, and all. The day we go and ask them about the data, everybody's looking for a free data right now. So I will reserve my comments on, and a lot of agri techs who have backed on, selling data have not done really well. What so data is important to an extent where it can add value, and that value gets translated into money. End of the day, it all boils down to money. While we've been talking about farmer making a decision, एक एकड़ वाला farmer क्या decision लेगा data से? See, price discovery I know was a challenge, but it is no longer a challenge for them. So the unit economics in which, as a country, we operate now, it is mostly as a herd mentality, which takes care, which drives people today. So for us, what we have done is we have tried to involve ourselves within the supply chain. We have not competing with, say, the local guys. What we have ensured is with the storage and finance and the platform availability, the transparency has been there. So if a farmer today comes into my warehouse, stores commodity, and by the time he goes back, he gets the money. So we have used tech to ensure that they get money immediately. The second problem for a farmer while availing loan is being, you know, that he has to repay to sell the commodities. So that part platform takes care. For us, we are not into advising the farmers in terms of that this is a time for you to store. People are trying to build models on predicting price. That is a skill which, as an organization, we don't have, and we don't intend to build. We intend to keep the cargo safe. We intend to work out using digital tech pieces to ensure we are able to work in smaller warehouses profitably. Basically have a size agnostic. So if you want to become a size agnostic, tech will play a role in ensuring your system and processes are more streamlined, no manual intervention. Like today, I don't get a document signed by a farmer. Everything is OTP based signed. Not a single piece of paper is signed. So those are the pieces where we are using tech to solve a problem on a larger scale. I will be happy to see in a country like India, people paying money for data. That is what my limited take has been. And there have been islands of excellence which have been created. A large scale successful model is still awaited from my side. Maybe I may be sounding skeptical, but just I opened my heart out.
No, perfectly. We have to have a frank discussion because, at the end of the day, we cannot just sugarcoat everything, right? We have to understand the challenges and then see the way forward. So I totally in line with you that actually, end of the day, it is time either people start paying for the data or the insights. Otherwise, they have no role to be participant of ecosystem. Yes, farmer, I would say that still charging them, it's millions of kilometers away because for them to change to come to the level where actually they pay for data. They might pay for the value because a lot of people say that farmer doesn't pay. I don't agree with that because sometimes we AgTech people, we over anticipate capability of technology because someone who is ready to pay a black for urea or ready to take danda of a police, right, to take that urea because he see the value in urea. So the farmer will start seeing value in whatever the AgriTech platform is being providing him. They would be more than happy to pay for it. But yes, so far I don't think that the value has been shown to him or he does not understand that value because he don't actually realize that value.
The day the farmer realizes value, they'll pay you. It's as simple as that. And adoption also becomes easier.
Exactly.
You see the case of UPI. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. Continue, Deepak.
No. Please. So yeah, UPI. You were saying something about UPI.
No, I'm saying you see the case of UPI. It has added value. Now everybody is using. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is using the UPI, whether it's a rickshaw wala or a grocery store or a sabji wala. Everybody is using. So they see a value add. The day a nominal fees is put on it, people will start paying for it.
No, I totally agree with you. So coming to you, Morup. So Morup, your last word on use of AI because AI has been a hotly discussed area when it comes to agriculture. Where do you see AI fitting in? Because there is a lot of hype about AI. Some justified, some not justified. Your initial final views on AI?
Yeah, I think I'm very ambitious. I think I'm very hopeful about the utility of AI, how it's going to really change. And the first thing that I mentioned is having that right AI. For example, I think Parmesh sir talked about how Google is actually coming up with the studio and democratizing everything. I think what AI capabilities which are enhanced today, what it offers is for anybody non-coders like us, we become a white coder. And today, any sort of tacit knowledge that we have, we can actually develop those apps which were never existing in this market. And so one of the things that was always missing, which I believe from the agri industry, is that know-how of the last mile professional has never really come up in a very structured, hyper-local way, which I think is really going to change. And secondly, a lot of initiatives, lot of work which happens in a value chain. The agentic AI's capability of understanding data points, connecting data points, and pushing it on a near real-time basis is really going to change. I think many things which we talk about, I think the first thing is that development is going to cut short to everything. People can just prompt, visualize, and then say whether it's working or not, rather than the other case of where you're developing some technology. And in the meantime, when you're conveying it to the guy who's developing it, it takes some time. It takes sometimes 1 year, and on. By the time you're using the technology, time has gone, things have changed. So you're not able to make those decisions. I think so. From that perspective, a lot of things are going to change. And secondly, given the kind of a huge amount of varied data which is required, which is coming in an agriculture space, how do you make decisions? Here is a soil component, there's a variety component, there's a seed component, there is a irrigation component. There is I think if you look at the kind of variety of data that is existing in the data for a crop to be successfully, for you to get a higher yield or a quality yield, there are so many parameters that has to get it right. How do you really make sure? I think having that agentic AI working on behalf of you, running those simulation, not just at a farm level, village level, and otherwise, it is going to change a lot of things, and I'm very hopeful about it. Yeah.
No, perfect. Even I'm very hopeful, as you rightly said, that the time of development, trying and then retrying, reduced substantially, and that would have a huge impact going forward. And
And not
yeah,
just that, I think the point is that imagine Deepak Parikh with aura of knowledge coming up with the platform by platform at a go, rather than you counting on somebody else to develop for you. It changes a lot. See, it's giving rise to another set of AI, which is an artistic intelligence, which was never there. So it's a creator's world which is coming to you. And I think that know-how, that knowledge is really going to come in front, is going to change things. So it's going to be a dramatic shift, is what I believe. Yeah.
no, Marup, actually, you have made me more excited. Like maybe let me try building some apps,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
That could fly. Maybe you never know. So coming to you, Bheemsha ji, your views on using AI, the telemetry, I think predictive maintenance or predictive analysis of any breakdown, you would already be using a part of business intelligence. But do you see it going further to AI as well?
Yeah, Deepakji, if you talk about, I will talk about two part. One is backward integration, second is a forward integration. If you talk about internally a digital transformation initiative as your organization, definitely we're using Industry 4.0, digital twin, customer connect apps, many things in internally. Okay, so which is for completely optimization and ease of data analytics and for the predictive analysis for our plants and all. But coming to the customer end, okay, so frankly speaking, as such, we are not implemented in the field in the tractors, but definitely there are internal, it's internal strategy. So organization, we are thinking about implementation of telemetrics and IoTs, definitely. But part of IoT, like I said, customer connect, yes, we started in some of the product, and we are getting the usage of the tractor usage pattern and how the tractors are using, and even semi-autonomous. Like for example, 100% autonomous in India it is not possible, but for the semi-autonomous, okay, like for example the clutch, okay, in clutch, then in the gearbox. For example, earlier we used to use a sliding mesh gearbox. Now we are using synchronous gearbox. Okay, and then for the depth control of a soil, how much inch we can plow, how much inch we can do the rotavator. So that can be and laser leveler. Those things will be controlled by semi-autonomous. That actually we are definitely as an organization thinking, and definitely industry also, as industry point of view, some of the players also thinking about these kind of semi-autonomous. Because in US and Europe, if you see the farmland, the more than 400 acre, 500 acre, and people are using 400 horsepower tractor, 500 horsepower tractor. But in India, the most popular tractors are 40 to 50 horsepower. So, and this because of the small agriculture land, so we are not. I mean, anybody in the industry point of view, I'm talking about, as not as a Mahindra, as an industry point of view, the organization are not thinking about completely autonomous. So definitely semi-autonomous, autonomous of tractors and implements, and how to converse them, like as a tractor plus farm machinery, how we can integrate tractor plus financiers, how we can integrate tractor plus other government organization, how we can integrate, how we can create a blockchain. Like for example, some data I need from government organization, so, like subsidy plans and the environmental data. Those things can how I can integrate to my organization data and help to the farmers through our apps, customer connecting apps. So these kind of initiatives, definitely the industry is looking in a positive way. These are the some of the points I can say industry is looking in a positive way to help to the farmers to get the benefit from telemetrics and semi-autonomous initiatives.
Perfect. So there is a small update. Just now we crossed 500 live views on LinkedIn. So this is every year we do a lot of roundtables. I don't know what brought so many people, but this is the highest live views we have reached on LinkedIn anytime. So 500 people have just seen what we are talking about. Vikram, your views on what you are doing in AI, because one of the comment on LinkedIn is that actually just price data doesn't help. It has to be weather parameters and supply and demand. So are you incorporating all those also in your algorithms?
Yes, Deepakji, how the AI
actually
works.
I know answer because I do provide you a lot of data around it, but asking you for the people.
Yes, I would love to answer it. See, AI is working, as you know, on the databases. So what we have done, imagine that we have done, like, let's see, right now we have worked on the rice and sugar. So what we have added, the most of the 5 years rice prices we have added, right? And there are dynamics, which you know very well, that the technology or AI required all that data, and on that parameters, there was a inflation rate, there was a currency rate, there was a rice ban or not, on which date. All these dynamics with the currency rate, we have put it in the backend in the algorithm. And those data, like if you right now go on just 5 years data, the AI will help you with the full report, that what is what the whole year's average, what was the last 5 years price, and what would be the prediction. Like how algos are actually helping in the stock market. The same way we have created algo for the agri commodities, and that is actually going to help for everybody. Because see, right now we see the chart, most of the people, they don't understand exactly what it is saying actually. But imagine if just by one click that AI will give you a one answer that, okay, this chart shows the price prediction is going to go up, and the average price was the whole year this X price. And now as a buyer or as a seller, what is your call you can take? So it's like helping the stock market. A trader can buy and sell or hedging or this, the same pattern we are actually adopting for the agri commodities prices. So that's how we have adopted AI. And not only that part, we also actually created technology where actually if the prices get fluctuation on their alerts or on their notification, so with this they can immediately get updated. So yeah, that's how we actually try that. Most of the price we can predict it as a prediction for the 1 month, 6 month, 5 year, or even we can also add for the more data.
Perfect. So yeah, as a concluding, we'll give to the master in the room, Dushyant, your concluding view. Where do you see the world going? And I know you're an optimistic person, but how do you see going forward things happening?
Deepak, AI is going to play a very important role. Probably, solution to many of the challenges we face in a smallholders world. Again, I'm using this. It need not to be looked as a constraint, rather an opportunity arising out of consolidation and everything. To me, right from seed development, technologies like, your gene edit, and now see platform thinking is going to help everywhere. So if you look at, even varietal development, so all the genomes are mapped electronically now, and all the traits, basically you can pull up at one place, and then there is a crossover. So you can compress, you have a speed breeding, you have gene edit, you can produce varieties within no time. Now you do this with a lot of intelligence. I can quote many examples. So resource seed development, resource optimization, be it input, any of the resources, labor, water, everything. All of us know a lot is going to happen there. And on the market linkages also. For example, in a large market which we visualize, in Enam 2.0, we have adopted an architecture which took almost us to 2 years to develop, and it is AI ready. I mean, that layer is provisioned there, and the architecture is completely modular. Like I said, microservices is one of the things. So keeping future in the mind and requirement of different stakeholders. For example, farmer, if they come to know some prediction about price trend, they can always optimize their investment in, plant protection, nutrition, and everything, so forth, so on. Right from, allocating the area for different crops, and once, even if there is a spike during the crop season, so they can always optimize, investment. So finally, realizations will be better. Market side, demand supply match, buyer seller match, and larger trends, warehouse, optimization, where see that the product like warehouse deposit receipts, WDR. So I often make this statement right now, the future markets, future APMCs are warehouses only. So market really need to come closer to the farms or just in the middle of the farms, right? So I'm very excited about it, and all the wisdom which we have collected in last 70 years or so is going to contribute a lot. And youngsters and this cross domain, expertise, leveraging cross domain expertise. Agriculture is a multi-domain subject. You have physics, you have chemistry, you have everything, biology, microbiology, everything. But in last 70 years, especially after green revolution, agriculture in India specifically, or smallholders wherever they are, countries, it has evolved as a domain. Seed is one domain, where fertilizer is one domain, pesticide is one domain, knowledge is one domain. So everything, all these, data points will sync at one place and make the value chains better serving. That's my take on it.
Perfect. I have nothing better to add with the complete analysis you have given. So I would like to thank all my awesome panelists as well as the audience for giving all the love and support. And I hope this session would have been also insightful to all of you. With that, signing off, thank you.
Thank you.